All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Keeping the Beat, an engaging web series hosted live by TNMEA in partnership with the CMA Foundation. Tune in weeknights, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time to learn and interact with music professionals from around the globe, representing every facet of the vast world of music. Today is July 9th. My name is Spencer Lightsy, and I am an admissions professional at the University of Houston downtown, which happens to be the greatest university within the U of H system. Isn't that correct, Shanice? She's saying no, but it is. Yeah, it is. We're at opposing schools. All right. Tonight we'll be talking about jazz in the time of quarantine. One of the things we came up with was, like Miles Davis, Kind of Blue, John Coltrane, The Love Supreme. We've got Kind of COVID and a jazz quarantine. So what we're going to talk about is jazz in the time of quarantine and how artists are thriving in that time. So I encourage you to interact by replying to this live video stream with your questions and comments, which I will respond to throughout the hour with the assistance of Shanice, who is our moderator. One disclaimer, while this is being streamed live, it will remain on the Keeping the Beat Facebook page for future reference. So as such, your comments will also remain part of the archive. So starting right off, we've got three musicians from Houston, jazz musicians. So with us first, we have David Caceres, saxophone player, Vincent Gardner, trombone player, and Charlie Perez, percussionist. So what I want to start off with is just to allow you guys to introduce yourselves, share a little bit about your background, and how you got involved in the music world. So I'll go ahead and start off with David. You can start us off tonight, Dave.
Okay, I live in Houston, as you mentioned. I'm originally from San Antonio. I went to Berklee College of Music back in the 80s, and then I did what most jazz musicians do, is move to New York and try to become a famous world famous jazz musician. Ran out of money, ended up going back to San Antonio, and then ended up in Houston playing with different cats there. And I've got my own band there. I've got several CDs under my name, and I play with different groups around town besides my own, including Vincent Gardner's great jazz Houston orchestra. There's also the Houston Jazz Orchestra. There's also Charlie's band, and so yeah, it's Houston's a great town, and there's some great music there, and it's great to be there.
Awesome, appreciate that. All right, Vincent, how about you? What's your background and how did you get started in the music world?
Well, I come from a musical family. I was born in Chicago, raised in Hampton, Virginia, and currently, of course, live in Houston. Love it here and love meeting all these great cats. Man, I haven't had the pleasure of playing with Charlie yet, but we're gonna fix that sometime soon.
Right.
But I lived in New York for a number of years. I went to college in Florida at Florida A&M University and the University of North Florida, and then later to Rutgers. And so I went to college there and moved to New York, just like David was saying, tried to make my way there. And after doing a lot of things, I eventually joined the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra with Wynton Marsalis, and I've been the lead trombone player in that orchestra for about 16 years or so. Been in it for 20 years. And so I'm still working with them, going back and forth between Houston and New York. And then I came to Houston, and my wife and I, we started an organization here called Jazz Houston, and we feature a jazz orchestra, which I'm fortunate enough to have David to play in quite frequently with us. And so we presented concerts in the Houston area for the last few years. And so, so we're here. I'm here just to be a part of it and try to help to grow it and support the cats here. And as David said, Houston's a great town, man. There's a lot of great musicians here, so I love it.
Excellent. All right, appreciate it. Thank you for that, Vincent. All right, Charlie, what about you? What's your background and how did you get your start?
Kind of the same way. We've all kind of got that vein of musicality in our families. My dad was a musician. He played percussion as well. He handed down the torch to me, and I've been doing it. Basically, this is the only thing I know how to do, and Houston is a great place to nurture it. I've been doing it professionally, I guess, 25 years. Starting a lot of my own bands, lots of taking the diversity of Houston and just rolling with it. I get, I'm probably the luckiest cat in town. I get to play Cuban music, one night, Brazilian music the next. It's just it's a beautiful place to be. And right now I'm currently still just running my own bands, and I've got a entertainment company where we book other bands and other venues, entertainment. It's a great place. Houston is full of talented people, and just we've been making a go at it until now, until recently.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually, I remember that's where I met you at Caceres during one of the Latin jazz night, one of the jazz jams. And if we have time, I'll come back to that, share some of my experience there. And that's, you talk about, phenomenal musicians. It's someone like myself, being a novice, surrounded by phenomenal musicians that can carry, someone along. It's been an amazing experience being able to be engaged with the Houston music scene. And yeah, 100%, you're right, Charlie. Just some real special musicians that we have here in the city. So along those lines, with Corona shutting things down, things like the Latin Jazz Jam at Caceres are not happening right now. What have you guys been doing in the midst of this, starting going back to really the beginning of March, when things started to take a turn for the worse in terms of performing opportunities being dried up? So what have you guys been doing in the meantime? And I'll start, I'll go in reverse order. I'll start with you this time, Charlie, and then we'll go back, Vincent and then Dave.
Well, adapting really. It was kind of rough at first, I guess we're all in shock collectively, and maybe the first month or so, I was just drinking a lot of coffee, and then from coffee to wine, and really just licking our own wounds. The first month, just kind of soaking it all in. It is so surreal. It's really hard to take, a course of action when we don't know where we're going to be, and then, here we are again in the same spot. But, to answer the question, I've been trying to create a world online. I know there's already one there. This whole time, I was probably the last one to get on Facebook and the last one to start an Instagram. I everybody out there listening, I don't hate it. I've got 3 young boys, and it's hard for me to be on my phone all day. I post something, then I got to look and see who's liking me, and then this and that. So it's been hard for me to adapt. I hate being like a tourist at my own gigs and stuff. So you never saw me going live and taking selfies. But now it's time to embrace that. I've got to, this is where we live now. We live online. And so if anybody's going to see anything that we're doing, you're going to have to just put it up online and create create this platform, or take part in the platform, or else you might get left behind. So I've been getting online, reaching out to people and seeing, what we can do to collaborate while we're sitting at home. Maybe, we can get in the studio and start writing some music. I think that's where it's going to be. I think we're all going to have to become powerhouses at producing ourselves. The live thing isn't going to come back like it was. And if it does, it's going to teeter in, and it's going to be hard to make a living doing that. It's sad that, music might be something we're going to do on the side for a little bit while we've got to make the mortgage, but we're adapting. I'm getting online and posting stuff and just trying to, stay out in the public.
Right. What about you, Vincent? What have you been up to in this period?
Well, a lot of teaching, of course, just as Charlie was saying, and everybody's experiencing. There's not really any playing going on, not live playing at least. So, so a lot of teaching. I had actually David helped me out a little earlier, a couple months ago. We had an online to Jazz Houston, we had an online series of classes weekly going for about 2 months. We did them, and connected with a number of students from all over the world that came to the classes. So a lot of teaching, and a lot of also kind of what Charlie's talking about, strategizing about how you're going to refine, how we refine my online presence, and what could I do better that I never did before? What didn't I have time to do before? Well, we got the time now. So, what can you figure out now about what the most savvy online marketers, online people with online music presences have done. And I've kind of been into that, just trying to figure out what to do. And then also, man, just allowing these times, and I think this is important for artists, I allow these times to inform me about the music that I want to make next. Everything that's been going on, from the George Floyd killing to all the police brutality, all the social things that are going on along with the pandemic. I believe in letting that inform your art. So I've written some music that I'm going to be getting out sometime soon that are kind of, informed by what's happening. And so I think that's part of it too. So I've been trying to practice and then write some music and then try to teach online and do a few recording projects with people as you record your part at home and send it in and the engineer puts it together. Those types of things. I think everybody's doing that a little bit. So, that's kind of the extent of playing that you have right now. So that's been a mix of all that kind of stuff.
I definitely want to come back to that, allowing the times to inform your music, because I'm gonna ask you guys about your songwriting process. So I definitely want to circle back to that that you're touching on there, Vincent. So David, what about yourself? What has it been like for you during this time of quarantine?
Well, before all this came down, I had recently redone my studio at home, and everything was brand new, and I was trying to figure out how to learn things and on this new software. And when everything shut down, man, I had plenty of time. So I really got to learn my studio and learning to record and do some home recording stuff and doing some editing. I've also been doing some teaching online. But also during this time, it's been time with it's about spending time with family and just spending time with my kids and my wife and all of us just trying to get through all of this together. The thing that I think that I miss the most is being able to express myself with other musicians. And like Charlie said, people have been trying to do that online and create things online, but what's something that I miss from that, because I've done that also with the big band where we all sent in our parts and we put something together and it sounds like we're all playing together, but I really miss the chemistry and the energy of being right there next to the musician and creating something and feeding off of the other musician. And so, I mean, yeah, you can express yourself at home and online, but that's really what I miss the most. And it seemed like things were calming down as far as COVID goes, and people were starting to get back out and play again. But here we are again. So it's been rough, but I just can't wait till musicians can get together and do what we do.
Right. Good. Shanice, do we have any questions yet from any in the comments yet?
Yes, we do. We have one from Candace that asks, how do you keep motivated to keep creating music during this time? And we also have one from Chelsea asking what specific technology or programs y'all are using during this time to produce your music.
All right, well, let's start with the motivation one first. Anyone want to tackle that one first? How do you stay motivated during this time?
Yeah, well, all the music that you've been hearing online on Facebook, people putting on these live concerts, and then also Vincent did a kind of a DJ spot where he was playing music, and so he kind of opened up my eyes and ears to music that of musicians that had created this music during the turmoil of racism. And so he turned me on to some music by Max Roach, and I learned some of that music and played it on my own. And so, yeah, was really inspired by that. But just exploring, we've had with all this fun that we've had exploring new music and being inspired by some of the stuff that you're seeing online.
Yeah, I'll also add to that, man. Also, as we all know, we're musicians, so we're born to play. So we're going to play. Our music motivates us. The desire to want to pick your instrument up and play it and get better at it motivates you. So once kind of at least for me, like once kind of the knockout punch of, man, all the gigs are canceled and all of that in March, when all that kind of hit, and I'm waking up starry-eyed, like, okay, now what do we do now? Let's share it. Let's get better. Let's practice and let's figure out, what's next. So all of that, I think for me, I felt motivated once I kind of realized what the situation was. I had no control over it. I couldn't just make COVID go away, make things come back. So, all right, let's figure out a way to make this period work to our advantage, at least the best that we can. So I'm feeling motivated by that. And then of course, seeing, as like David was saying, and seeing the cats also doing things motivate you. I saw other cats that were doing interviews with people and things like that. I said, man, that's a cool idea. Let me see why I can put a spin on it. So I started doing these kind of online DJ sets and things like that. I'm going to do some more. I have some stuff coming up next week. I'm going to start doing also different from that. So, just using the times to motivate you. The situation is what it is. There's a virus out here. The gigs are gone. But there's this platform where musicians are here. We can still create. We can still play. Let's play.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. The inspiration, is definitely coming from the times. The current state of current affairs. I do get motivated, just like Vincent was saying. I've just been in the shed practicing, and each week I feel like I'm getting better. I'm learning new things, and that for a musician is definitely that's best motivation. I'm just waiting to get back out there so I can just jam with my friends and be like, hey, look what I've been doing, look what I can do. That's kind of motivation in itself. But the times, it feels like it's something's good. Something good has to come out of it, and a little bit of that's got to kind of reflect in the music. I've been getting for the first time in my life, inspired enough to start composing music. And, I take like a jazz tune that, I might have, come up with a little while ago, fixing it up, rearranging it and adding words to it. So that way it connects to, to people, and definitely, having it reflect the times. And all this stuff motivates you because you want to get your voice out. You've got something to say about it. All this is real important. It's important to our daily lives. It's affecting us, seriously affecting us. So it's time to say something about it. And so this is our platform. Get online, create some music that can speak to the times.
Awesome. Going back to and I want to again. We're touching on a lot of stuff that I want to get into a little bit deeper later, but I do want to answer that question. Was that about, Trinice, was that what technology are they utilizing? Was that?
Yes, what technology or specific program you're using.
So technology or specific programs, and then we'll touch on some other things about the creative process.
A lot out there. Sorry, there's a lot out there. Sometimes you have to, it's a little bit of trial and error. People are rushing to get applications out right now to, all the musicians and all the artists who are at home streaming. So, you could find quite a bit. But if I had to, sponsor one, I'd say acapella is a good one that works, and you can share that, share your file with someone and they can add to it, and that can just, start building. I'm learning myself. So acapella was a good one. There's obviously Twitch, there's people who are DJing and streaming live shows using Twitch. Anything, any music production program that you can, get like Ableton or Logic that comes with your Apple products, GarageBand. I mean, anything, just get on something and start making some music.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Well, David, I'll let you go. I'm sure I'm the most low tech of everyone here. So yeah, go ahead, David.
Well, it's Pro Tools for me. And when I said that I recently upgraded my studio, I had been using a 2009 version for the last 10 years. And so I finally upgraded to the latest version. And so I was learning some of the new tricks and, learning all the new bells and whistles on the latest version of it. So it's been Pro Tools for me, which is great. I know a lot of people use Logic. I do have Logic, like Charlie said, it comes with the Mac, but I haven't really even opened that one up yet. And as far as putting things out, as far as videos go, the first software that I started using was Essential Elements, which is by Adobe. And I have Final Cut Pro on my Mac, so I'm trying to get, trying to get right on that because that's a tough one. But
It's tough because everybody's got to be a jack of all trades all of a sudden. It's enough just to learn, my instrument and to keep up with, the likes of these gentlemen, which, I'd be remiss to, first of all, if I did not say, I'm honored to be included with these guys right here. But, yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. What about you, Vincent? What type of technology are you working on?
Well, I actually have none of the software that any of them have mentioned. So
Okay.
I'm very low tech, man. So far, I'm getting Pro Tools soon, but right now I've been doing everything just because I could do it this way. Is we've been recording everything straight to my iPhone. I have a good mic, at least that Shure mic that works well with the phone. So I just been recording straight to my phone into the video app, and they've been able to separate the audio out and sync it up and use the audio. So every project I've done has been straight to my iPhone. I haven't used any editing software or anything so far, but I'm sorry. But now, it's this time. I'm going to get back and get into it now. So Pro Tools is on order.
Okay, there we go. Right? Hey, obviously, not on the level of you guys as professional musicians, but even myself, being a bass player, I've done some of that recording stuff on my phone. I'll put it on Instagram or Facebook. Shanice, she's a drummer. She's participated in that, where I'll put a bass line up, then with a beat. Some of our other friends, this guy, Yuri, he runs the House of Blues, open mic, he'll come on, do a guitar riff on it. So even if it's not that studio production quality, it's still that getting some of that interaction that people used to jam with all the time, trying to keep that connection going. So one of the other things that's come up, your writing process. So Carly, you mentioned starting to write songs initially, or even expanding on what you've been doing in the past. What is your writing process when you guys go about composing new music? How do you do that?
For me lately, and I'm nowhere near probably a composer as these gentlemen. I do a lot of rhythm. I come up with some rhythm, and hopefully, then I pass it along, and some of my more harmonically developed friends will take it to some places. But there are some some songs that I've written in the past that are kind of coming back up, and getting revamped. Like I said, especially the instrumental tunes that I have, I'm putting words to them. And I hear a certain voice, and I'm thinking, well, I'm going to write this tune for this certain person to sing it, and I'm going to pitch it to them and see if they'll take it on, and maybe we can do a collaboration. But it's been weirdly easy right now to, well, first of all, because we have so much time on our hands, and well, I say so much, but like I said, I've got 3 boys and my oldest is 5. So time is casually limited around here. But I've been putting words to a lot of these tunes that speak to the times, and it's been coming out. It's been an easier process than I expected, or easier than it was before COVID. So the writing process it's a little of everything. I mean, a little bit of just keyboards on the on Logic here, making a couple of changes here and putting some rhythm to it, and then passing it along and asking somebody to put a bridge on it or help me out with a melody. So it's kind of a collaborative art form for me now.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
What about you guys? What's your process how you go about creating?
Well, when I write, I whistle and sing all day long. This is something I've always done. So I always keep my phone with me. I'll have an idea that'll catch me or to get my attention, and I'll just sing it into my phone. And then I'll come back when I have time to come back and develop it, and at the piano, and I'll develop it. And I've written every chart I've ever written has started out with a whistle, or with me just singing, just being around singing something. So I'm always just doing that. I have in my voice memos app, I have little excerpts going back to like 2003, thousands of them, just things I've been in the car singing or whatever. So I just kind of write that way, and I I keep it there until I can expand it, and then do things with it. Sometimes I'll whistle. I'll come up with something, then start cooking or doing something, and then like 20 minutes later, I'll come up with the next part. And man, where's my phone? Before I forget it, the thing is burning. I got to go find the phone that I can.
Right.
Whistle it. But I piece it together like that until I get a chance to develop it, expand it, have the time to sit down. Then I just kind of write it down and put it down however it's going to be.
Excellent. All right. What about you, David?
Well, I've always thought that your composition was the most legit if you actually heard it in your head first. But if I could quote Charlie Parker, he said that the mediocre musician borrows it and the professional musician steals it. So, It's a combination of three different things. If I hear it in my head, then, like Vincent saying, he hears something or he whistles it, then he goes and jots it down. So I've had songs that I've written that start that way. I've had songs that I've written where, I'm hearing a tune and I'm like, man, I really like that vibe. I like those chords. There's no copyright on chords. I might rip the chords and create my own melody off of it. And then it just evolves from there. Or I might just be sitting at the piano and all of a sudden, my hands just fall somewhere where I'm like, wow, this sounds pretty cool. And it'll start that way. So there you go.
Before we go to Shanice, do you have any more questions coming in?
Yes, we have one from Woody that I'd like to ask. Is going back to a point that we were making before about finding new ways of collaborating with artists now virtually. Woody asks, do you think any new musical approaches will come out from this new way of music and artistic collaboration? And to add to that, do you think this whole situation has set music creation on a different trajectory in a way?
Well, I think I would imagine there will be some new techniques that come out of it, just because we have so much time to only focus on this virtual kind of way of making music. So I would imagine that anybody who has enough time to really think about it was going to figure something out and come up with some things that haven't been done before. When you had the option of playing live with people or doing things in the non-virtual way, somebody's going to come up with something. That's what I think about it.
Yeah, and it's giving you opportunities to play. You could possibly be playing with people you've never met before, people you played with before, and putting together projects like that. So I think that's the one neat thing about this is being able to do that.
Yeah, and to add to that, not only the creation of music, but I think how musicians are going to start branding themselves. There's a new article out how Live Nation is changing the rules and how they're going to be charging and paying touring musicians, and it's a lot of the responsibility and the risk are going to be on the artists now. So what's happening, I believe, is musicians they're becoming just well-rounded media entities, so to speak. They've got the musicianship down. Now we just got to figure out how to get it up in the electronic, platform. But then at the same time, like David mentioned earlier, he's got that video editing, the video editing software. We're all going to have to videotape ourselves. And here I go with this, I'm old school, videotape. We got to videotape ourselves doing it every step of the way. People want content, this whole, Instagram world. I'm getting tips on how I should do things, when I should do things. It's going to be a lot about who sees you and how they see you. Unfortunately, the musicianship or the style of music or whatever, that's all, a part of your opinion, what you're going to like and what you won't like. But the one thing that's for sure is we're going to be changing the way we put ourselves out there and connect to the world, to the rest of the world. And it's going to be a lot more visual, I think. So I think, the musicians are expanding to, like I said, brand themselves, however that looks. We'll see.
Yeah. Before we go on to our next, I want to circle back to something you had just said, David, about just where ideas come to you, and you as well, Vincent. You're cooking, ideas will come to you. and Charlie was saying how artists are now having to brand themselves differently, not just as musicians, but holistically in the visual component. Being a bass player again, I watch Steve Bailey, Victor Wooten. They've got a series out of Berkeley that they do focused on bass, and that's one of the things Nathan East was talking about earlier today, about how it's like when you're playing, you allow the music to play you, where it's like sometimes he'll just sit down with his bass and allow the music just to flow out of him, as opposed to where he goes to sit and tries to compose something. He'll just get in front of his instrument and just, what is in him comes out and play and create that way. So again, along the lines of what you were saying there. Vincent, you touched on this a little bit earlier about allowing the times to inform what you're creating, and David touched on this as well. If you could, Vincent, talk a little bit, and everyone take a stab at this, but Vincent, to start off with, what role do you see artists playing in this current environment socially in America, specifically? Referring back to that series you had where you were playing songs from the civil rights movement, jazz musicians, Dizzy Gillespie, Max Roach, like Dave was talking about. What role do you see musicians playing in our current environment?
Well, musicians, artists, all artists, we're sensitive, and we're all a little crazy too, but we're sensitive to our surroundings, the people around us, and no matter how the kind of facade that you put on to go about your everyday life, as an artist, you have antenna and feelers out. You feel everything that's happening around you, whether it's just a stand that drops in the rehearsal room that you're in, that can change your trajectory for that next 10 seconds, or like what's going on now in the world. I mean, it all informs you. It all does something to the way that you think about it. And it's your absolute duty, I believe, as an artist, to create things that are representative of how the world is when you're going to create it. So, and you can go all the way, you can go back through history and in many different cultures, and you're going to find art that represented the times. Through biblical art did it. One of the things that I played on, that I played in that DJ set was a Free Fall by Art Blakey. It's a song called Free Fall, written by Wayne Shorter. If you know that record, Free Fall, everything else on that record is kind of somewhat, nice and polite. Free Fall is not polite. This record was recorded 2 days after the mistrial of Medgar Evers was announced. They were mad about that. And on this tune, Free Fall, this is one song is 11 minutes long. Everything else is like 4 minutes long, 5 minutes long, 4, more polite kind of radio play length. But this one, 11 minutes long, and they're firing. You can hear them yelling at each other in the studio. Yeah, man, play it. All kind of stuff going on. Like, it's an energy to this one track that you can tell is inspired by the times, by what just happened 2 days before they recorded it. So, so I think that, and there are millions of examples like that. I think it's the artist's responsibility, absolute responsibility, to allow that feeling to seep into their music and to put out music that's representative of that. It's good because it makes you grow as an artist, but it definitely changes what your output would have been had you not done that. If you close yourself in a room and make a song and don't listen to your little son playing around, or you don't listen to somebody outside saying, having a nice conversation or whatever, or something bad happening, whatever it might be. If you do that, man, you're going to make very static kind of closed music. So I think it's our responsibility as artists, no matter what your art is, that we have to let the times inform you.
Good. Good. Anybody else want to add anything onto that one?
Well, I think music is what brings everybody together. You don't think about, if you go to a show, you go to a concert, you're not looking around and you're not thinking about, what race this person is, or what that person is wearing, or how old that person is, or what ethnicity. You're just all enjoying the moment, and it just brings people together. So I think music is especially important during these times, and so it makes it more challenging for us because we can't go out there and put on shows. So it's our responsibility to find a way to do it now, online, like Charlie was saying. So
anything you want to add on that, Charlie?
They got it. That's good, man.
Awesome.
I'm just
all right. Do you have any other questions, Shanice, from the audience?
We have one from Chelsea, which asks, what will be the first project you'll pursue once live performances are safe again?
Huh. Wow. Man, that's like giving a starving man a steak dinner. You know, it's like, man, what is the thing that I'm finally, I get out this desert, I can finally get something to drink. What am I going to drink? You know, like,
Yeah.
man, that's a really hard question. I just know it's going to be live with a bunch of musicians that I really love to play with, because I miss, just like Dave was saying, man, I'm sure Charlie too, we just missed that. Just the energy, the vibration of hearing, I want to hear David's horn 2 feet away from me. You know, feel the vibration in the air. You know, I want to feel Charlie's bass. I want to feel it like that close. You know, I want to just feel like what's happening, the vibrations of people playing. So it's really hard to say what the project's going to be, but I know it's going to be with some other people.
Well, along those same lines, if not project specific, who are some people that you would like to collaborate with? Either people that you actually do know where it could happen, or hypothetically, you know, who are some artists you would like to collaborate with, knowing how you are as a musician and what you know of them to be, who you think would be an exciting fit collaborating with them?
Well, you know, one of my biggest mentors is Vincent, and Vincent gave me that opportunity when he brought him down, and you know, and he asked me to play with a big band. That was amazing. That was one of the most inspiring moments in my life, because
I remember that. No, I remember. I mean, you had the full performance. Yeah. I remember you guys were out at the Houston Public Library, and then you guys started doing second line, and you know, out there, outdoor. I remember that, man. That was amazing.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Yeah, you know, this is a little off the topic, but a musician, when you know, a lot of times when you go see someone play and you're so inspired by, you know, how they're playing, and you go and you ask them, what were you playing, or what are you thinking about? And to me, as a jazz improviser, it's always, your best moments are always when you're not thinking about anything. It just comes out. You're not thinking about the chords. You're not thinking about. So Wynton Marsalis, when I see him playing, he's just all about playing. There's not, like, he's not thinking about. I mean, it's just coming out. It's just him, and so it's amazing. You know, those are rare moments for me where I'm just thinking and focused in the music and not, you know, being distracted or whatever. So, you know, I really admire that and inspired by, you know, him and his playing. So you know, that was amazing, and you know, to be able to play in that setting. So
That's good.
Yeah, more of the same. It's not necessarily who I'm gonna, you know, want to work with, but I think there's gonna be a different mentality since we won't be necessarily, you know, back at it as though we're doing it for money, so to speak. Like, you know, once you're paying your mortgage on all the, you know, the gigs and all the entertainment that you're booking, you know, sometimes it just becomes a gig, you know, a job, and just like I'm putting on a different suit for that gig. A lot of times, like David just mentioned, you know, my mind might wander off. I might be on a gig and I'm thinking about how, you know, something else is going on the other side of the room, you know, or are these other entertainers showing up like they're supposed to? And so, you know, sometimes I could get lost in you know, worrying about, you know, other things when I should be focused in, you know, on the gig and on the music. And I think all of this is going to definitely help, you know, kind of hone and tune me in, or make me tune in rather more, and be more focused on the music, just creating music. But I'm excited. I'm excited to get back to playing live. It doesn't matter with who, to be honest with you.
I believe it.
Yeah.
What about you, Vincent? Anybody in particular, or just excited to get back?
Yeah, it's so hard to single cats out. I mean, I'm looking forward to getting back and playing with the Jazz Houston Orchestra. I'm looking forward to getting back and playing with the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra. You know, I'm looking forward. I would love to. You know, I've always had a dream to do like a quintet recording with Wayne Shorter, and I don't know if it's gonna ever happen. I mean, Wayne is just such an amazing musician, man. So he's always been one. I had like bands that I always wanted to play with, like these older cats that I always wanted to play with, and unfortunately I missed the mark on a few of them years ago, and they've left us already. Wayne is one that I still would love to play with. And I did a big band record with him with the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra that came out. but I would love to somehow play a small group, play a number of small group performances and develop some kind of cohesion with him and play with him. So if there's any way I can ever make that happen, I'm going to figure that
I
one out.
hope maybe if he's not watching tonight, perchance he's not, didn't catch my Facebook post, but maybe we can get him, send him the link, and he can see this on YouTube, and you guys can get something together. Talking about, artists, I knew you knew my grandfather. That's him back there playing bass. I played with Ellington, in New York. And actually, my brother did this picture right here of my grandfather, that painting. He's an artist as well. You talk about, artists and creative being sensitive and in tune with the time. That's definitely, along the lines of what my brother is doing there. Do we have any questions, Shanice? Because I have another question I want to get to. I'm sure I want to give the audience a chance to ask.
We do have one, but I think it might be better to circle back to.
Okay, great. Okay, so what projects had you guys currently been working on? Vincent, I definitely want you to touch on a little bit with the Essentially Ellington, because I know that was recent. I was watching that online. And then when we come back to that, but Charlie, I know you were just on a project with Carnegie Band and their new album, Mordecai. If you could talk about that a little bit.
Oh man, that's been a great ride. We've been recording at the beginning. I think about February is when we finished up. So right when we were heading into the COVID dive, we were pretty excited about it. Yeah, the band is great, man. They're doing amazing. The album is number 4 in the UK right now. They've got a real big international draw. It's great. It's pretty soon here. The album Mordecai. It's already on Spotify, obviously, but they're doing something special called an enhanced album, where there's a lot of content that goes with each of the tracks. And so the band, called us back in to do a little one-on-one interview with the producer here in the studio in Houston. And so that'll be cool. Something's coming out. I guess it's like a campaign. So the first few songs, there's like 10 songs on the album. The first few songs, you can see the interviews on it with the other studio musicians and members of the band. But pretty soon, my interview will be up there, and it's great. It's exciting because Khruangbin, they're taking off. They've got up to 5 million monthly listeners.
Wow!
So I'm hoping to just really capitalize on that. We got to do an EP with Leon Bridges that came out in February this year. So right when
you guys were at the on North Main on the White Oak, was he part of that one?
Right, yeah, we did. That was in November. The EP didn't hit till Texas Sun didn't come out until February.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's been great, man. I mean, it's really a shining moment. It's silver lining to have something like that while we're kind of stuck and casually depressed from the no gigs and no socializing, but I'm kind of stuck to my phone, reading interviews. They're getting high praise, and it's been a great ride, man. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait for more. Yeah,
cool. Good stuff. All right, Vincent, if you any project you want to talk about, and then if possible, if you could also talk about the Essentially Ellington as well.
Sure. Well, Essentially Ellington, of course, Jazz and Lincoln Center just completed their first virtual Essentially Ellington, as everything is virtual right now. And so I had a part in that, as did everyone else in the Jazz and Lincoln Center Orchestra. And we did various online classes. I did a couple of history classes for the students, a couple of different things that everybody contributed to. I did a few trombone workshops for a couple of groups, and a couple of sessions critiquing their entry tapes, talking about the music that they played and kind of breaking it down. So everybody did kind of a bunch of things, and it came out really well. It did really well. I'm also recording something soon with a group that was put together for June, right in time for Juneteenth, called the Black Excellence Trombone Choir. And a great trombonist, Weston Sprott, kind of organized this thing. And we put out a recording of Lift Every Voice and Sing, arranged by the great Mike Dees for that. And so on the next one, Wycliffe Gordon has arranged a piece called, I think it's called Blues Hymn. I might be giving it away wrong. I should say the right name, but I think it's called Blues Hymn. And he wrote a piece that we're going to record and put out really soon. And I'm hoping to write one for them too soon. And so I'm happy to to record with them. And then we have Jazz at Lincoln Center has a virtual jazz camp coming up the last 2 weeks of this month that's going to be going on. So I'm doing a few different things for that, through history classes and rehearsal techniques classes, those kind of things. And then outside of that, I'm starting an interview series that I'm going to start out, I believe, next Wednesday or next Friday, called Freedom at 4. And I'm having different guest artists, and having different guest artists come on. It's a series about the music, period. They're going to come on and they'll pick 6 or so pieces of music that they like. And I'm going to let them tell the world why they're great. So we're going to listen to them, and I'm going to let them talk about them. And so I got a few really good guest artists lined up for that. And I'm going to try to do that at least once a week, if not twice a week, depending on how many people I can line up. So those things are coming up, man. So, again, virtual world, man. We're trying to make sure that the music gets out there in this virtual world. And I wanted to do the last thing because I just have never seen a platform where great artists can talk about the music that's important to them.
I like that.
They make great music themselves, but what inspired them coming up? So I have a few good ones. I'm not going to give it all away, but I got a few good ones coming that are going to talk about music that they love.
All right.
Good idea.
What about you, David? Any projects you want to highlight or anything you work on?
Well, I was fortunate to be asked to join the Aljo tribute band. It's with Chris Walker and friends, and we had released that record a year ago, and so we were just starting to do some pretty neat things and doing some traveling, and all that got cut short. But there was a track on the record that Sanborn was supposed to play on, and unfortunately he was sick. So Chris asked me to do it, so I was lucky enough to be on a track that's with Marcus Miller and Bobby Lyle and Larry Williams. So that was a pretty cool thing. So hopefully that gets started back up again, because that's really a fun band with Mark Simmons on drums and John Calderon, a lot of great musicians. And then there's the fusion band Stratus. I don't know if you've ever seen Stratus. Stratus has been around for a long time, since I think the early 80s. And so, we've been trying to get that whole online thing together, and, exchanging tunes and trying to figure out who's going to put the first track down to try to create, a record online. So hopefully that gets going pretty soon. And then there's, my quartet that has Greg Petito and Anthony Sapp, and the drummers always change, but working on that as well, and, trying to write some music for that particular project. And then I'm also playing with Paul English, and we've been doing some recording and some playing. So hopefully, a project will come out soon with that, a new recording with Paul. And that's about it.
Okay. Well, now for those in the audience that are musicians, aspiring musicians, either trying to get your level, as a professional musician, or someone who's not even looking at it professionally, but just wants to improve their skill set, what advice would you have for someone, to expand their strength in the music world? What advice would you have for them?
Well, I would say, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead. No, please. Go ahead.
Well, for me, the biggest thing is listening. Whoever you're, aspired to sound like. I think the most important thing to do is to listen to a lot of music, to be inspired by what you hear. I've had students that have come and say, "Hey, man, can you give me some ideas on how to play on this and how to play on that?" And I always say, "Hey, man, the teacher's job isn't to put the music in you, but the teacher's job is to pull the music out of you." So I think for people that are trying to become musicians, you got to do your homework, and you got to put the music into your soul. And then the teacher's job is to pull that out of them, because you can give someone an idea of how to play something, and it'll never stick because it never gets inside them. And I always make the example of songs that you hear all the time on, whether it be on TV or music in the elevator, or commercial or a movie, and it's a song that you don't even like, but somehow it gets stuck inside of you, and you start even singing it. I'm like, oh man, how did that get inside of me? So something as simple as that can get inside of you from listening to it all the time. Well, the same thing is going to be with whatever you're trying to play or whoever you're trying to sound like. Or I think listening is one of the most important things.
What about you, Vincent? You're going to say something on that one?
Well, I'll just say that it's important I'll just say kind of two things. One, it's important that to keep in mind all of these online virtual aspects to your music, and all the stuff we kind of been talking about. That us, we're kind of, I guess I'm probably older than all of y'all, but all of us are stepping up our virtual games now. I don't know. We're gonna talk about this one, David, but we're all kind of stepping up our virtual games now. For cats that are 20 years old coming up now, you should have this. This should be as ingrained in your process as playing your instrument, because you came up in this generation, whereas I didn't. I'm getting to it later, but I'm getting to it at least. So it's important that you work as hard as you on your online virtual presence as you do on your instrument, but don't forsake your instrument. You still have to practice smart on your instrument and learn how to be a master at your craft on your instrument. But you also have to work just as hard on all your online marketing, on making sure that you're making the most of these opportunities, virtual opportunities that are out there. And again, coming up in your age, people that are under 30, musicians coming up under 30, in your age, it's very natural to you. It's something that it's been a part of your process probably from the beginning. Don't ever separate yourself from the process. And then practice it and go about it the same way that you do on your instrument. In your instrument, you have the techniques, specific things that you have to practice. If you learn how to practice smart on your instrument, meaning that if you have an hour to practice, don't try to practice everything. There's so much to practice, and you go into it with 20 things that you want to practice, you're gonna get very little. But if you go into an hour with 2 things that you want to practice, you're gonna get a lot out of it. You have to practice and itemize all of those aspects of your virtual presence, online musical presence, in the same way. Learn about the finances, learn about platforms, learn about all the programs that you use to bridge between platforms, learn about getting the best sound online or in the recordings that you're going to put out online. All these kind of little aspects that are there. You got to really shed on those just like you shed on your instrument. So it's a lot to work on, but again, we got the time to do it. It's time, you have to really focus on all of it, because if you don't, it's going to be like artists do, like what happens with a lot of artists. You're going to end up paying somebody to do it. If you don't learn how to do it yourself, you'll pay someone else to do it because it has to get done.
Anything, Charlie, you want to add to that?
Yes. Yeah, Vincent is, I mean, they're both right on. Improving your craft. I mean, there's a dozen ways to do it, but really it's just dedicated and focused time. You got to be just really focused, put everything else away, and just really focus on a couple of tasks at a time. The idea of having an hour to practice and then going downstairs and trying to do everything you can, trying to fit everything in that hours is just like Vincent said, is you're going to come out, without you really getting anything done. But just make sure you take small steps and complete them. Don't put a huge goal in front of you and think, this is, you've got all the time in the world. This COVID thing, who knows? It's going to be going on forever. We don't know. It could be, this could be wrapping up. Hopefully, this could be wrapping up here real soon. And so, your time is actually more you have less time than you think, So really go down in the practice room and knock out the things that you need to work on. Another thing is when you're practicing and trying to embody a certain style of music or a certain sound, you definitely have to listen to it. You got to study that type of music. I've told a lot of my students, how do I sound like so-and-so? Well, you've got to embody, you've got to pretend like, you're a drummer from the 60s or, a drummer from Cuba. It's kind of like an actor has to take on a role. They've got to learn about that, the person that they're depicting. It's a lot about, for me, it works that way as well, to kind of pretend I'm that person and I'm maybe learning a certain thing, and I'm gonna, right when I'm done learning it, I'm using my, my imagination, of course, and psyching myself out, but thinking, okay, I'm gonna give a lesson on this right away. You know, as soon as I'm done learning this, I'm gonna turn around and post it. Or as soon as I learn this lick, or as soon as, you know, what I'm practicing here is tight enough, I'm gonna put it online right away. And so you kind of, what happens there, you're kind of held accountable for what it is that you're going down to knock out. So, you know, small steps, small goals. And if you can, whatever you're going down to practice, you know, get everybody involved, post it online. Everybody's doing it. Don't be afraid. I mean, it's just time to get out there. So work on something that you want to work on, that you need to work on, perfect it in that hour, and then hold yourself accountable and post it online and share it with everybody. You know,
Good. That's good stuff. We're rapidly coming up on our time, talking about time, coming up on our hour. Shanice, do we have any more questions before I ask a couple more from the audience?
We have one from Henry, but it was actually answered before. He asked like what the musician's general approach to like arranging and composition. We talked about that a little bit before. I actually wanted to ask a quick question of mine real quick, because Vincent, you're talking about the importance of like learning like your instrument very well and like financial aspects of I guess like music production and stuff. I was curious to know like what are your views on how much a musician should have like professional music theory instruction versus like someone who's just like kind of self-teaching themselves from YouTube and like playing music by ear. Like at what point do you think like someone should like receive professional like music theory instruction?
Well, you know, I think we are trying to get to the same goal. You have to be able to execute it. You know, music theory is the basis for what we play and what we write and what we play. So you have to know it. How you get to it can be on you. Some people can learn it themselves. Some people can sit at the piano and will hear the right relationships between notes and chords and progressions and that types of thing. Some people need help. So it doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there. So, you know, I'm a fan of institutionalized music instruction if it helps you. But if you can play it by ear and learn it by ear, learn it by ear. You know, so I believe that you just have to get there, but you can't use it, especially in this age. It can't be a shortcoming of you as a musician because there's so many different ways for you to get the knowledge. So you got to go. If you can't figure it out yourself, then go get some help. But you got to get it somehow. Everybody has to get it at some point.
Good. Anybody else want to chime in on that one? Okay. Again, going back to that webinar earlier, that's one of the things Chuck Rainey and Chris Chaney were on a call earlier talking about. That's part of, you know, as a musician, and they were, it was focused on session players, where session players have to be able to read music, where if you show up at a session and you can't read music, Chris was saying, well, what are you doing there if you can't read music and don't know music theory on how to assist the group that's already been brought together. All right, as we're wrapping up, and this is a non-music question. Again, all three of you guys from Texas, based in Houston right now. This is based out of Tennessee. If you guys have somebody coming from Tennessee to visit you for the weekend for the weekend, where are you taking them in Houston to give them a sense of the city of Houston? But imagining that COVID isn't going on right now, you'd be able to take them out to eat somewhere and show them something about Houston. Where are you going to take them to see?
Man, there's so much, man.
yeah.
Well, I know you're gonna take them to Cafeza on Monday night.
Absolutely. I was going to say, I can get it started. We're definitely going to go to Cafeza, you know, get my own empanadas, you know, my Topo Chico, get that there, you know, let them, because I love the vibe of that place where it's a real, first of all, it's small and intimate. And then it's real collaborative where we got, you know, the professionals at first and then other people start hopping up. So it's a real neat environment. What I like about it also is that it gives a flavor really of other cultures of even other countries, but in Houston to give them a sense of, you know, and I think that's something that's special that Houston can offer. What about you guys? Any other place that you would take an out of towner to?
Man.
Well, you know, I was, lucky enough before this all happened to have my hand in booking a lot of rooms and, venues across the city. And it's been great. I given my, colleagues and good friends, work and, just keeping us all happy and gigging. So, man, I mean, there's dozens of places, but, Batanga downtown is a great place to see live Latin music. We had Cuban music there, Brazilian music. I mean, this is the legitimate stuff. There's tons of places. There's great African music, big Nigerian culture. I was working with a guy named a Cameroonian guy named Achu, and we were doing gigs all over town. And so little Cameroonian makossa music. There's every night of the week there's something great going on. Just that's Houston for you.
Yeah. That's right.
What night of the week are they going to be here? Let me know.
Absolutely.
I got several options for them every night of the week, man. Ask them about their budget.
Right.
Right.
That's good. You guys got anything you want to add on that one?
Man, I'm with y'all, man. I mean, there's so many places. We're going to Shazam. We're gonna go there on the weekend. We're gonna go to I'm taking about Triple J's barbecue.
Okay.
I'm taking
The barbecue, I'm from New York originally, so whenever I had guests come in from out of town, I was always taking them to a barbecue spot first, getting that Texas brisket. We could go to barbecue, but the brisket here in Texas is something special. So I always try and get them to a barbecue spot.
Always, you got to do that.
Barbecue and Tex-Mex. You can't.
Man, I had these shrimp tacos the other day from El Rey. I had never had them there. They were amazing. I was like, man, this is really good. Over on Washington, you guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, we're there once, twice a week. Yeah.
That place is amazing. Yeah.
Definitely. Barnaby's is a great place.
Yeah. Wonderful
food, man. Great people.
What about you, Shanice? Okay, Shanice, you're on mute. Come off mute. Give us something, Shanice. Where you take it? We got people coming in from Trinidad. Where you bring them to give them a taste of Houston?
Oh man, that's a good idea. I don't know. I feel like downtown is like a popping place in general. There's like just a lot of places you could walk around to down there and kind of just like pop in. But to get a good feel, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of like more of an outdoor person. I think like Discovery Green is just like a cool space. They usually have like some different artistic
about to say Discovery Green. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's like usually just like a chill spot to kind of like, just
cool.
See stuff.
All right. Well, hey, I thank you guys so much for you guys are, world-renowned musicians. I appreciate you guys making time to share with us a little bit about your world. I also want to thank Chelsea and Ruben Jack working behind the scenes, keeping this running smoothly, and also Shanice Thomas moderating the questions for us, keeping the conversation going. So as we close up, I just want to remind you to tune in weeknights, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time to watch Keeping the Beat live. And remember to tell your friends about our program. Next week is Keeping the Beat's last 3 programs. So to learn more about the guests, visit tnnea.org/keepingthebeat. So again, thank you guys for watching tonight. We appreciate you coming in. And again, thanks again for your time.
Man, thank you. Thanks for having us.